All right, so commission is the percent of the total sales that the salesman earns. Formula, commission equals percent commission times total sales, or part equals percent times the whole. So again, lots of salesmen work on a commission basis, but not all of them. So number one, you got a commission rate of 9%. You got total sales of $3,750. We're going to use a formula, commission equals percent commission times total sales. And Kristen, what answer do you have?
That if you multiply that 0.09 by the 2,750, it's
$337 and how many cents? And 50 cents. How many agree with Kristen? And that would be correct. All right, and again, you can use whatever variable you want. Percent is always in decimal form in our formulas. Total sales is right there. I like to leave the dollar sign to remind me. And I'm going to ask the ma'ams, does $337.50 sound like about 9%? Again, I would do 10%. 10% is always easy to do. Move the decimal point one place to the left. 10% is 375. It should be a little less than 375, 337. The ma'ams likes it, right? So that's the idea, and that's the situation. Commissions are not that difficult. All right? Let's do a second problem. All right, go ahead and do number 2. I'm going to pause while you guys set it up and then work it. All right, so hopefully you asked the ma'ams, does my answer make sense? So on 3, out loud, tell me your answer. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. $1,968.75. All right, great. That's exactly right. $1,968.75. Hey, 10% is 3,750. What's half of 3,750? About 1,900. I'm in the ballpark, right? And that's all you're doing with the ma'ams. Am I in the ballpark? Am I in the ballpark? Okay, so both of those are pretty easy. Commission problems aren't hard if you're trying to figure out the commission, right? Pretty simple. The commission is the part times equals the percent commission times the total sales. Not a big deal. Be careful. If you get a problem where they say the salesman sold like a tractor for $2,000 and a wheelbarrow for $150 and this for... You got to add all that stuff up and then take the commission, right? Because it's of the total sales. Sometimes a salesman will sell more than one thing. Again, they're getting commission off of it all. They can get you in the store for that HD TV, and they end up, what else could they sell you besides an HD TV? Maybe a Blu-ray player as well. You know, you got the latest. Or maybe, oh, I know, the sound system to go with that HD TV, right? Because now, again, they're making more money, right? They're adding everything to make more money. All right, so just make sure you total up. All right, C. Let's find the total sales. So in this one, we're told the commission rate. We're also told how much the person earned. You tell me what the total sales is, right? I'm going to pause. You go ahead and figure it out. Again, start with your formula, sub into your formula. Be careful with the percent, right? It's always in decimal form. Daniel, what'd you use for the percent?
0.0125.
Okay, and that's correct, right? 0.0125. Hopefully you use that. And so then you got to finish off. Remember now, we're looking for total sales. Things multiplied times the variable. You'll move by multiplying by the reciprocal, or we can do the shortcut, right, and divide. So you should be dividing $1,006.25 by 0.0125. So class on 3, give me your answer. 1, 2, 3. 8,000, I heard? 80,000. The ma'ams likes 80,000. Way better than 8,000. Look, it's only 1%. right? And she made, or he made, $1,000. So it's just 1.25%. So 1% of 80,000 is about 800. The MAMS likes that answer. 80,000. How many got that correct? And again, if not, you're probably off on your percent. Again, it's 0.0125. Any questions on that? Anybody? All right, let's go to the next one. D. Find the commission rate. Now we're looking for the percent, right? So here we got $380 in sales and a $60 commission. All right, I'm going to pause. Go ahead and work that one. Remember, percent in a formula is always in what form? Say it. Decimal form. So your answer to start out is in decimal form. So the way to do it in your calculator is multiply times 100, right? And put the percent symbol. So on 3, give me your answer. Oh, it's up there. Didn't even know it was up there. I thought I had it frozen, right? How many got 15.8%? Questions on that? Questions on that? Again, things multiply times variable, multiply by the reciprocal, or use the shortcut, right? We just divide both sides by 380. Does the MAMS like 15.8%?
Yeah.
Well, again, the sales was 380. 50% is 190. 25% is $95. I better be below 25%. And I am. And that's about all I need to do for the MAMS. I'm in the ballpark. I like the answer. 1.5% would definitely be off, though, right? It's too low. 1%, that's too low. So again, you got to think through, ask the MAMS, does my answer make sense? Any other questions on that one? Anybody? All right, let's get to tips. All right, tip. Oh, I turned my shade a different color. Let's see. Let me give you a good tip. What's a good tip I could give you? A good name is rather to be chosen than riches. Here's a good tip. They that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and then the many hurtful and deceitful lusts which drown men's soul in perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some have coveted after, they have erred from the faith and have pierced themselves through with many sorrows. That's a good tip. Proverbs says, labor not to be rich, cease from thine own wisdom. There's a good tip for you. All right, but obviously here we're talking about being at a restaurant and tipping your server. So the tip, why is that funny? The tip is a percent of the bill that is paid to the server. Do you guys understand the concept of tipping? Here's the concept. Now, today it's gotten crazy. Because today, all right, this is what it used to mean. You were at a restaurant. Your server took good care of you. They were prompt in getting your order. They kept your Coke glass filled or your iced tea glass filled. They brought you more of the bread rolls or asked if you wanted more. They kept an eye on you. They got your order in right away, so your food came out. They got your order correct. You wanted extra sauce on all your items, and they brought it with extra sauce. Viva Italia. You know, they did all that. They were prompt. They kept looking after you. And you want to say, thank you, server. That was awesome. You were great. Here's, used to be 10% tip. That used to be the way it was. And it was a way of thanking a very good server, which, by the way, what does that make the server want to do if they're going to get tipped based upon how good their service is? Yeah, and take care of you. And not go in the back and talk with the employees and goof off while you're at the table waiting to fill up your Coke again. It's dying of thirst. Or they put the wrong order in, so your wife's order is sitting there, and she, of course, has to start eating, or hers will get cold, and yours isn't even out yet. And you're waiting and waiting and waiting, eating breadsticks. You can't even eat your entree anymore because you're full of breadsticks. What in the world? All right. But that's really what tipping used to be. It used to be a way of thanking a very good server, and even an okay server. But people would, if they were an okay server, they'd give, in the old days when it was 10%, they'd give 10% to an okay server. But maybe this person was just, dynamite. Well, you might say, I'm giving that one 15%. He was really good. Or back then it was all she's. She was really good. I'm going to give her 15%. Nowadays, you're not even sure if your tip goes directly to your server. Because some restaurants, all the tips have to be put together, and then they split them up among everybody. That would drive me crazy. There's Sally the sluggard. She's not getting any tips because she's nasty and mean, but she's working the shift with you, and you got to put all your tips together and split them up. Defeats the whole purpose of it. It really, really does. Nowadays, some restaurants, you got to split it with the busboy. The bus person, I'm sorry. Who comes and cleans the tables and stuff. They're not even serving you. Why do you have to split it with the busboy? I want it to go to the server for the great service that they gave me. So anyhow, that's where tips began and the concept behind it. Tipping was to thank the server. And here's what a lot of restaurants do. Servers can make less than the minimum wage. You guys are aware of that, right? So they can make less than the minimum wage because they're supposed to make up for it in tips, which again is a great incentive for them to be nice and to take care of you and work hard for you. And again, if they work hard for you, you're thankful and you tip them. Well, just like everything else, the more expensive of a restaurant they work in, then the tip's going to be bigger, right? Because how much is a tip today? Who has any idea how much your parents tip? Brendan? 18%. Okay. Anybody else? Thoughts? Colby? 10%. Juliana? 20%. 15%. Anybody else? Edward? 17%. Okay. You have to get your calculator out, right? But at least everybody has a phone today, so you could tip 17%. I'll tell you, the norm today is 20%, believe it or not. That's the norm today, is to tip 20%. So let's say the we'll use your family. Everybody's at home, all right? Everybody's home from college. You guys are going out to what's a restaurant that you guys would really, that you like, that you could all go to? What is it? On the Border. All right. So you go on the Border, 10 of them plus their 2 parents. That's 12 people. 11. But there's 10 kids. It's 9. I was off one. All right. Sorry. Thank you for correcting me. All right. So there's 11 of them. On the Border, $10 meals or $15 meals? Okay. But right. Because when you have 11. But let's say all 11 is going to get their own meal. $15 meal, then you got a couple bucks for your Cokes. Good thing you don't drink alcohol, because then your bill would go through the roof. But they could drop easily, if everybody went out to dinner and you got your own entree, $200 easy. What's 20% of $200? How much? Nope, 20% of 200. What's 10% of 200? 20. What's double 20? $40. $40 tip.
That's me.
Would they be at the restaurant more than an hour?
Yes. Yeah.
Probably not. You're usually not at a restaurant more than an hour total. So that's it. That server would get $40. Man, I'm gonna go be a server. $40 an hour? Sweet. Now again, depends on the restaurant. What if they went to Red Lobster? What if they went to that's the one I was thinking of, Maggiano's. Mamma mia. All right. Then the bill might be $500. 11 people? It's possible. And again, commission is part of that, right? The tip is part of that. Again, it depends on the person as to how much to tip, but I'm just telling you, going rate today is about 20%. You can do a 17% because most people have phones with them, and a phone will have a calculator. Are you going to tip somebody $13.37? Are you going to leave that for your server? The only way I would tip pennies is if it was like I had a gift card and it was like the rest of the amount on the gift card. I mean, what's the sense of putting, 47 cents on the gift card? I'd round it up. But other than that, the tip's usually in dollars. I mean, they don't want to grab pennies and dimes and nickels and quarters off the table. And these days, a lot of your parents pay with a credit card, so they're signing how much they want the tip to be, and it comes off the credit card. But again, normally the tip is in dollars. So if 20% happened to be $9.72, how much would you tip?
$9. No, $8.
You would normally tip $10. You would give the server the 30-cent benefit. Now, if you had $9 in your wallet instead of 10, and that's all the cash I had, I would give $9. But because again, that's a little less than 20%. That's a good tip. But that's the world of tip. It's percent of the bill. It's paid to the server. And so again, it's part equals percent times the whole. The tip is the part. The percent, of course, is always in decimal form, and the whole is your bill. So let's do this problem here. The Lots ate at In-Front Steakhouse. In-Front? You've never been there?
No.
How about In-Out Burger? Anybody been to In-Out Burger? All right. You never went to In-Front Steakhouse, though, huh? Anybody know what that's the take on? In-Front?
And,
Come on, mates.
Australia.
Ah, there we go. Yes, all right. Outback, in front. Ah, yes. All right. Do I have a bloomin' onion in there? All right, give me the bloomin' onion. How many have had a bloomin' onion? That is just awesome. I feel bad for you. If you've never had a bloomin' onion, you haven't lived yet. A bloomin' onion. All right, so the Lots ate at In-Front Steakhouse, and the bill was $78. If they want to give a 15% tip, how much should they leave for the tip? This will be our last problem today. Go ahead and work that out.
$12.
Thank you, one person. How much are you going to tip?
$12.
You're not going to give them $11.70. You're going to give them $12. They don't want the pennies and the quarters and the dimes and the nickels. All right, we'll pick up here tomorrow.